Welcome everyone. Today we are going to talk about Age of Chaucer, which is one of the most important age of English literature. There are several writers apart from Chaucer who play a vital role in making it one of the most popular and fruitful age of English literature. There are several achievements which are associated with this age, and we are going to cover one by one. First, we will start with the historical background, and thereafter we will move to the authors and different points. So let's start our point with the age of Chaucer. And here we are having the background of age of Chaucer. The first point that we are going to cover is historical events. And if we look at the content or the year wise, then the events between 1340 to 1400 is the timeline that covers the age of Chaucer. Simply saying, you can take it from the birth of Chaucer and death of Chaucer. That is also the title Age of Chaucer. But there are several other writers and things which we will discuss later on. And if we look at on different perspective of age, then we can start its beginning with the year 1338. That is with the 100 Years' War with France that ended in 1453. But that is a more broader thing, or you can also count it from War of Roses 1486, which is fought between House of York or the House of Lancaster. So these are even historical event which we have seen during the age of Chaucer, that is 100 Years' War or War of Roses. In case of kings that lived during that period, we are having 3 kings, and it includes the greater part of the reign of Edward III, that is 1327 to 1377, and the long French wars associated with his name. The accession of his grandson Richard II, that is 1377 to 99, and the revolution of 1399. The deposition of Richard II and the foundation of Lancastrian dynasty with Henry IV, 1399, 1413. So these are few historical events which are related to the age, that is the war or the kings and so on. Apart from that, we are having Black Death in this era, and if you can see in the picture that in the wake of the plague, Black Death is also called plague, and picture background is saying black because it is Black Death. And in the year 1348 to 49, the terrible Black Death occurred and reoccurred again in 1362, 1367, and 1370. It broke out in England somewhere around 48, and within few weeks it spread to London and Bristol, leaving no place to bury the dead. So many people were died during that period. The death toll was half of the country's population at that time. You can simply say the half population of England is wiped due to this Black Death. Some people migrated from that area to another, and the rest died there. In the next 20 years, it played havoc on the British Isles, and 1/3 of population of England was carried off. So that is how England is devastated out of human. And it also affected Edward III campaign against Scotland, and it is said that it lasted on and off for over 150 years. So that Black Death is having very bad history till 1.5 century, and it struck England severely. However, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales suffered less severity than England. So that is the history that we are having of Black Death. That was not the only thing that play havoc in the life of people. There is even more. That is Peasants' Revolt, and that happened in 1381. The English society was in peculiar condition, and years between 360s to 1400 are called unhappy years. England had many setbacks in the wars with France and posted England's economy. Hence, there was imposed heavy taxes. Due to the Black Death, the labor suffered terribly. Its victims were the poor and working class. Our working class, there was a rise in workers' wages. Employees had no other choice but to hire the workers at high price. A statute of laborer 3051 fixed the labor price to be on the same scale as it had been before Black Death. It made the working class highly angry and even revolting laborers, and they revolted against the law. At first, the peasants of Kent had revolted under Wat Tyler and Jack Straw. More than 20,000 peasants from Kent and Essex came on the streets of London, and they killed Archbishop of Canterbury, who was also the Chancellor. They had the notion that he had imposed unfair taxes. Later, Tyler and his men were armed and other dispersed. Tyler was a few days later killed by the Lord Mayor of London, William Walsworth, in King's presence. Thus, the whole society was divided into two classes, the rich aristocrat and hard-working labor class. John Gower's Vox Clementis in 10,265 lines, which are mainly in Latin, recorded the details of this rising, politics and ecclesiastical abuses. So that was another revolt during the age of Chaucer, and several people, especially the poor and working class, suffered in it. Uh, the next is Lollard movement, which is a reformative movement and a religious movement attacked by many of the beliefs and practices of the Church of Rome. Its followers were known as Lollards, from a feminist word meaning matron. The Roman Church deemed them as heretic and opponents of the established order of government. The Roman Church had reached the lowest level of corruption and impurity. Instead of providing moral guidance, it pushed man into more despair and dissatisfaction. The contemporary literature is full of the religious pictures. Wycliffe was the revolutionary against this corrupt church and started Lollard's movement. So Wycliffe is their leaders. He preached simple religion with purity and devotion. Lollards went from home to home to deliver the Lord's message. It was perhaps the first step towards the Reformation. To control the Lollards, Henry IV's Parliament issued cruel law De Heretico Commuendo, which punished heretics to suffer death by burning. Many books and followers of Wycliffe were burned at the stake. So that was cruel movement, and in the picture we can say how these heretics were burned by the government of the day, and that is a kind of cruel punishment, kill them alive by burning. And people look at them so that there is created fear among them, and they avoid to follow them and remain honest to the church. So that is a movement, and in case of its writers, we are having some prominent names. That is, in case of poets, we are having Chaucer, 1340 to 1400, William Langland, 3032 to 1400, John Gower, 3032 to 1408. And there are also some prose writers, John of Trevisa, Travels of John Mandeville, Chaucer, and Wycliffe. In case of William Langland, the vision of William concerning Piers the Plowman was written in the year 3062 to 19 in between, and these are one of the most important works of William Langland, and his reputation is reserved only through these texts. The next is William Wycliffe, and he is popular for translating Holy Bible in the year 3082. John Wycliffe was born 3020 and dies 84, and his only contribution or the great contribution was the translation of Bible. Mandeville is popular for the travels which published in the year 1400, and these texts, either these three writers, Langland, Wycliffe, and Mandeville, are popular for the selected text, and most of the contribution was of Chaucer. That is why it is called Age of Chaucer. And in case of Chaucer, we are having, he lived during the reign of Edward III, Richard II, and Henry IV. In case of period or the working structure of Chaucer, it is divided into three parts, that is Italian, French, and English. And Canterbury Tales, which is his most popular work, belongs to the third period. And if we go with the French period, then it is having Romaunt of the Rose, that is Roman de la Rose, a kind of thing. And you can say Romaunt is a partial translation into Middle English of the French allegorical poem Les Romans de la Rose. Originally believed to be the work of Chaucer, Romaunt inspired controversy among 19th century scholars when parts of the text were found to differ in style from Chaucer's other works. Also, the text was found to contain three distinct fragments of translation. Together, the fragment A, B, and C provided a translation of approximately one-third of Les Romans. There is little doubt that Chaucer did translate Roman de la Rose under the title Romaunt of the Rose. In Legend of Good Women, the narrator, that is Chaucer itself, states as much. The question is whether surviving text is the same one that Chaucer wrote. The authorship question has been a topic of research and controversy. As such, scholarly discussion on the Romaunt has tended toward linguistic rather than literary analysis. Scholars today generally agree that only fragment A is attributed to Chaucer, although fragment C closely resembles Chaucer's style in language and manner. Fragment C differs mainly in the way that rhymes are constructed, and where fragment A and C adhere to London dialect of 3070s, fragment B contains forms characteristics of a northern dialect. The second is the Book of the Duchess. The Book of Duchess is first of Chaucer's major poems. Scholars are uncertain about the date of composition. Most scholars subscribe the date of composition between 3069 to 3070s. Chaucer probably wrote the poem to commemorate the death of Blanche of Lancaster, Joan of Gaunt's wife. Notes from antiquary John Stowe indicate that the poem was written at Joan of Gaunt's request. The poem begins with a sleepless poet who lies in bed reading a book. The poet reads a story about Ceyx and Acloy and wanders around in his thoughts. Suddenly, poet falls asleep and dreams of a wonderful story. The dream that he wakes up in a beautiful chamber by the sound of hunters and hunting dogs. The poet follows a small hunting dog in the forest and finds a knight dressed in black who mourns about losing of a game of chess. The poet asks knight some questions and realizes at the end of the poem that the knight was talking symbolically instead of literally. The black knight has lost his love and lady. The poet awakes and decides that this wonderful dream should be preserved in rhyme. Now we are coming to the Italian period, and in case of we are having the Parliament of Fowls. Parliament of Fowls is also known as Parliament of Fowls, Parliament of Fowls, Parliament of Bridals, Assembly of Fowls, or Assemblies of Fowls. So these are different titles which can be attributed to this text. The poem has 699 lines and has a form of a dream vision of the narrator. The poem is one of the first reference to the idea of St. Valentine's Day was a special day for lovers. As the printing press had yet to be invented when Chaucer wrote his works, the Parliament of Fowls has been passed down in 14 manuscripts, not including manuscripts that are considered to be lost. Scholars generally agree that poem has been composed between 3081 to 82. The plot is about the narrator who dreams that he passes through a beautiful landscape, through the dark temple of Venus to the bright sunlight. Damn nature see over a large flock of birds who are gathered to choose their mates. The birds have a parliamentary debate while three male eagles try to seduce a female bird. The debate is full of speeches and insult. At the end, none of the three eagles wins the female eagle. The dream ends welcoming the coming spring. The latter has a fine opening and in the characterization of birds, so Chaucer's two comic spirit, Trilus and Chrysides, is a long poem adapted from Boccaccio's, but it is emphasis on character, it is original and indicative of the line of Chaucer's development. Both poem Chaucer's best narrative work depicts. House of Fame is next in the Italian period and is a Middle English poem probably written between 79 to 80 and making it one of the earlier works. It was most likely written after Book of Duchess, but in chronological relation to Chaucer's other earlier poem is uncertain. House of Fame is over 2,000 lines long in 3 books and take the form of a dream vision composed in octosyllabic couplet. Upon falling asleep, the poet finds himself in a glass temple adorned with images of famous and their deeds. With an eagle as a guide, he meditates on the nature of fame and the trustworthiness of the recorded renown. This allowed Chaucer to contemplate the role of the poet in reporting the lives of the famous and how much truth there is in what can be told. Now, the third segment, that is the British period, and here we are mostly having the famous work Canterbury Tales, and it is a visit, and we can see that travelers are moving to St. Tabard's Inn, and this is some text which is old classical language depiction, and that shows how it was written and in which linguistic pattern. And in case of Canterbury Tales, these are some details. Pilgrims in the Canterbury Tales assembled in Tabard Inn. The pilgrims were welcomed by jolly host Harry Byle. Chaucer employed heroic couplet in his prologue and Canterbury Tales. Chaucer effectively used rhyme royal in Trilus and Chrysides and arranged in stanza consisting 10 syllabic lines and having 7 lines in each stanza. Pilgrims in Canterbury Tales visiting the shrine of Thomas Becket. Wife of Bath in Canterbury Tales tells about her 5 marriages. Chaucer's physician in the Doctor of Physique was heavily depending on astrology. Spencer called Chaucer the well of English undefined. Chaucer introduced heroic couplet in English verse and invented rhyme royal. So these are most important things. Most of works of Chaucer are in rhyme royal. And Matthew Arnold criticized Chaucer for lacking high seriousness. These are some important information. Pilgrims marched toward Canterbury in the month of April. That the month is more important. And Tabard Inn and Thomas Becket, these are some points to be remembered, especially the rhyme royal and heroic couplet too. A free supper was the prize for the best storyteller among the pilgrims. Matthew Arnold called Chaucer the father of our splendid English poetry. So these are information, quotation, and some important points to be remembered about Canterbury Tales. And now Canterbury Tales, we are moving. The achievement of this period is the Canterbury Tales. Though one or two of the separate tale may be slightly earlier composition. For the general idea of tales, Chaucer may be indebted to Boccaccio, but in near every important feature of work is essentially English. Separate tales are linked with their individual prologues and with dialogue and scarps of narrative. There are two prose tales, Chaucer's own Tale of Melibee and Parson's Tale. These and nearly all other are composed in powerful and versatile species of the Duchess heroic couplet. So the Chaucer's tale are Tale of Melibee and Parson's Tale, and the rest are others. And in case of prose of this age, we are moving. So Chaucer also wrote some prose, and we are having the Tale of Melibee, also called Tale of the Melibee. The story concerns Melibee, who is away one day when three enemies break into his house, beat his wife, Dame Pardon, and attack his daughter, leaving her for dead. The tale then proceeds as long debate mainly between Melibee and his wife on what actions to take and how to seek redress from their enemies. His wife, as her name suggests, counsels prudence and chides him for his rash opinions. The discussion used many proverbs and quotes from learning authorities and Bible as each make their points. Dame Pardon is a woman discussing the role of wife within marriage in a similar way to the wife of Bath and wife in the shipman's tale. Parson's Tale. The subject of Parson's Tale, or rather treatise, is patience. It may thus be taken as containing influential criticism of the behavior and character of humanity detectable in all other pilgrims, night included. Chaucer himself claimed to be swayed by the plea of the penitence. Since he follows the Parson's Tale with a retraction, the conceit which appears to have been intended close entirely circle in which he personally asked forgiveness for any offense he may have caused, and perhaps for having dared to write works of worldly vanity at all. The parson divides penitence into three parts: contribution of the heart, confession of the mouth, and satisfaction. The second part about confession is illustrated by referring the seven deadly sins, offering remedies against them. The seven deadly sins are pride, envy, wrath, sloth, greed, gluttony, and lust. They are healed by virtue of humanity, contentment, patience, attitude, mercy, moderation, and chastity. The Knight's Tale. Prevailing feature of Chaucer's humor is urbanity. The man of the world kindly tolerance of the weakness of his erring fellow mortals. He lays an emphasis on pathos, but it is not overlooked. In the poetry of Chaucer, the sentiment is human and unforced. We have excellent example of pathos in the Tale of Prioress and in the Legend of Good Philip. Chaucer's stories, viewed strictly as stories, have most of the weakness of his generation, a fondness for long speeches, for pedantic digression on such subjects as dream and ethical problems, and for long explanation when known are necessary. His metrical skill, 7-line stanza A, B, A, B, B, C, C, has become known as the Chaucerian or the Rhyme Royal. He shows the skill that is as good as the very best apparent in the contemporary poems. We may summarize Chaucer's achievement by saying that he is earliest of the great moderns. In comparison with the poet of his own time and those of the succeeding century, the advance he makes is almost startling. All the Chaucerians features help to create this modern atmosphere. He is indeed a genius. He stands alone, and for nearly 200 years, none dare claim equality with him. That is the quality of Chaucer. And this is what we have in our this lecture. This age of Chaucer is one of the most important age of English literature, and most important for UGC. It is expected that 2 to 5 questions could come, and mostly are from Chaucer and some from either information which we have collected, or it can also be related to background. So most of the things I try to cover in this lecture and can be useful for you, at least if you are new students or new to English literature. We also have covered earlier to lecture Anglo-Saxon and Anglo-Normans, and now we are covering this third age of Chaucer, and similarly next will be Renaissance. If you like our video and get some information which are valuable, then do share this video, and with this let's end it, and thank you, take care, goodbye, and best of luck.